A 3-year partnership between Community Living Toronto and Centennial College that brought together post-secondary students and people who have an intellectual disability under one roof is coming to an end. But many of the relationships that were developed as a result of Friendly Housemates continue to grow. The community agency and the college recently hosted 3 information sessions in downtown Toronto.
Today we're going to be presenting our initial findings and just kind of going over what the project is, what we've learned, giving some snapshots of the families because we were able to capture over the course of the research some really great moments that happened between the students and the housemates, and also perspectives of families and what have you who are all very, very pleased with how the project had gone for them.
Launched in 2015, the Friendly Housemates initiative created 5 matches where a student lived in a home with a person who has an intellectual or developmental disability. Another match consisted of 2 student housemates and a person with a disability.
It's ultimately just about, helping each other learning from one another, and sharing life experiences together, and just being friends. Wait lists for residential supports in Ontario are quite long, and families have somewhat reached a point of desperation when it comes to finding supports for their child or their family member. So there is a huge gap, and as well, individuals want different types of support nowadays. They might not necessarily want the traditional type of support that they're used to receiving. They want more options and more choice, and they want to live more independently in the community.
Students were paired with families involved in the Lights program who had an extra room available. Lights is a partnership between community leaders and Community Living Toronto, which aims to address the lack of housing options for people who have an intellectual disability living in the city. It is also important to note that the students involved in the project did not take the place of support workers. Friendly Housemates participants would often go about their days and then come together in the evenings. While people who have an intellectual disability, their families, and the students all benefited from the new relationships and greater community participation, the students were also able to decrease their living expenses, receive a bursary following the completion of the study, take part in summer employment through Community Living Toronto, and learn about the lived experiences of people who have an intellectual disability.
We matched 6 families to date. And then we also it's actually a biphasal study, so the first phase was matching the families and kind of tracking their experiences, and the second phase was interviewing key stakeholders and just kind of learning more about how Friendly Housemates can fill in gaps, where we need to go, how we might produce policy papers, things like that.
Relationships ranged from 3 weeks to 2 years, with many housemates remaining in touch. One student continues to live with their housemate even though the project is wrapping up. Although there were a couple of failed matches, the root cause was never a result of the relationship between the student and housemate.
We also learned that in situations where it doesn't quite work out, it's a lot more free for people to kind of go their separate ways and determine what it is that they would like to do. So a lot of the time, if you're in a group living situation, if you don't like the people that you're living with, you have really no option for where to go. But with Friendly Housemates, there is a lot more freedom in that capacity.
While the Friendly Housemates project wraps up in March of 2018, Community Living Toronto will continue to offer it as a housing option for people who have an intellectual disability, their families, and students. The organization will also be creating reports and policy papers that demonstrate semi-independent living is a viable housing option. For Community Living Ontario, I'm Ron LaRoche.